I'd like to call this meeting to order. At this time, I would ask Noah Heaton to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by prayer.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, help us make our community a better place to live. Help us work together and listen to one another as we search for your guidance. We pray this will happen in your name. Amen.
Roll call. Heaton.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Hurt.
Here.
Beach.
Here.
Livingston. Carter.
Here.
Ehlers. Thank you very much. We do have a quorum. Hearing of citizens' comments at this time. If anyone in the audience would like to step to the podium and make some comments, I would ask that you do so. You have 5 minutes. I see Gary coming forward.
Evening, Mayor and Council. We started this morning at 7 o'clock.
If you would introduce yourself.
Gary Johnson with
Okay.
Alliance Water Resources.
Thank you.
And we started this morning at the water plant at 7 o'clock and hit the ground running. And I'd like at this time to introduce the manager on site from Alliance. This is Jim Yonke. I sent you guys his credentials per email. Hope everybody got them. If you didn't, I can resend them. And you'll find out his name starts with an I. And so a lot of people call him Yankee, and he will answer, but it's just with a Y, so it's Yonke. So we were out there this morning, just getting the feel for everything, and everything's going good. We're learning a lot, and we'll learn more every day. And I will get an email to everybody tomorrow, because he's got his phone here now and all the contact numbers. And so Jim will be on site from now on, hopefully. And I'm not going to get into his credentials, because you guys can read that. But I can just tell you, I personally have worked with him since 1981 at different sites together, and him on one side of the state and me on the other. And I feel we make a pretty good team because you got the two most experienced people in the company. Because I started in 81, and he started, or 80, and he started in 81. So we've seen a lot. And this morning we were talking about challenges, and we still get excited about that, and we found a few down there, so we're going to attack them. And if you have any questions, give me a call, give Jim a call, come by the plant. Probably once we get feeling good with the plant and understanding it, we would like to have an open house, get people down there so you guys can understand what the plant can do and can't do, and be part of the team down there, because this is your plant. And we're part of the team to make this a good running plant, good quality water for the citizens. So if you got any questions for myself or Jim, we'd be more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll sit here and let you do what you all do best.
Glad to be here to serve you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Welcome to Boonville. We're glad to have you. Anybody have any questions for him real quick? Okay. Welcome and thank you. Any other comments this evening from anyone? Seeing none, we'll move along to approval of the minutes of the June 17th council meeting. They were in your packet, and you've had plenty of time to look those over. Are there any additions or corrections to those provided minutes? Seeing none, they will stand as presented. Consent items. Item A, consider pay request number 3 from Chester Bros Construction Company in the amount of $29,545.88 for the asphalt street repairs and overlays 2012. I would entertain a motion. Morris?
Mayor, I make a motion this be approved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion or questions? There was a application form in your packet. Anyone have any questions for Earl?
This is for repairs on the shoulders of Sombart Road, which was not able to get completed satisfactorily before the winter set in.
Okay. Roll call. That's okay.
Keaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston, Carter.
Yes.
Consider change order number 2 from Chester Bross Construction Company in the amount of $30,000 as a credit for the asphalt street repairs and overlays of 2012. Morris?
Mayor, I make a motion we accept this credit.
Go ahead.
A second.
Mike seconds. Discussion or questions? Morris?
What was the credit for?
Well, there was some quantity underruns primarily. We had anticipated a significant amount of failed area on the shoulders of Sombart Road. If you remember, it got beat up from snowplows and so forth, and in spite of the issues they had, they weren't resulting from that. They were resulting from their application, and there were probably some other odds and ends in the other work they did, so it's just...
I mean, it wasn't work that they did not get to.
No, we didn't cut anything from contract, no.
Yeah, that's all I was wondering. Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Keaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Presentation of accounts and claims. Kate, when you're ready, if you would please read that.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Boonville as follows. Section 1. For the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the City of Boonville, which have been allowed by the Council at the regular meeting thereof on July 1st, 2013, the sum of $568,700.61. General Fund, $295,831.02. Sanitation, $16,001.99. CIP tax, $7,083.71. Waterworks, $70,638.31. Capital projects, $2,790. Wastewater, $54,988.68. Tourism, $9,802.64. Gaming, $111,564.26. Parks and Water, 0. Section 2. The bookkeeper is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $568,700.61, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3. This ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on July 1st, 2013. Read for the second time this first day of July 2013, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mayor, I make a motion this be approved.
Thank you, Morris. Do I hear a second? Noah?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on that. Do we need to, this is an amended, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm way ahead of myself. Roll call. Roll call. Sorry.
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Now we'll move to unfinished business. Second reading of Bill Number 2013-020, authorizing, approving, and accepting a cooperative agreement and amended district projects for the Boonville Riverfront Transportation Development District.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing, approving, and accepting a cooperative agreement and amended district projects for continued transportation improvements in the Boonville Riverfront Transportation Development District on city property leased to the Isle of Capri for casino and hotel operations, authorizing Circuit Court of Cooper County filings for approval of amended district projects, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Okay. Morris?
Mayor, I make a motion this be approved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ned. This is an amended you have the amended revisions to the projects and improvements. So, Mike, did you?
Yes, well, the way we did it here, I'm not sure how this works, whether he changes his motion to add the addition after we discuss it, or whether I make another motion on top of that. I think it'd probably be better just to discuss the amendment first and then decide how to do that.
Right.
Okay. Do you want me to discuss the amendment?
Yes, I do.
Okay. This is after a discussion Earl and I had as a result of Second Street's use south of Spring Street for excess parking for semi-vehicles, which just kind of came about as, well, this space is close to a commercial area, it's a wide street, and so forth. Vehicles have been parked there since the hotel opened for the casino, as I understand it. I don't have the full history of this. I don't know of its relationship to trucks that might have been there when Toastmasters was operating out of there in the past. I don't know how it evolved. There is an arrangement made by the casino to provide transportation from the truck stations out by the highway and drive the drivers in here so they can stay the night and they don't have to park in town. But there are some that apparently get by and they come over and park there either by habit or by know-how. Park over there next to south of the Spring Street on 2nd Street. Everybody understand what I'm talking about? Right next to the little creek there by the trail. The problem I have, I own property in that area, and Noel lives close to that property, is the 2 or 3 roads that they come into that area usually means they drive in through residential areas that either one-way streets or have parking by residents on the street, and they're driving through with these semis under mature trees. Usually there's a little conflict with that as well as they tear down branches, try to go over steep grades just so they can get to that area and park one way on that road, because you can't really do it a roundabout with the way it's currently configured. Either you have to do that coming in or you have to do that going out. What I've asked is that if this TDD is the proper place to do it, as I understand it is, then have this issue addressed. I don't know what the solution is, so I think Earl picked out $150,000 to address whether that be expanding existing parking so that it can accommodate it over there closer to the, or exits or whatever, to get semis in and out of that parking area where they have it closer to the hotel. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that it has an impact on that residential community. So we put that in there a lot to allow us to address this under this TDD.
Okay.
Did I cover that well?
I think that's pretty good.
Noah?
Okay, first, I don't have my old copy, so is this highlighted section,
That's the only change.
that's the only, now was that completely added new? Or was the wording and the amount just changed?
The whole line,
The whole
specialized
line brand
parking,
new.
yeah. Just
Okay.
They added one line with 150.
Okay, I guess my concern is the $150,000 price tag. I mean,
It's just a guess on my part. I don't know what it might be.
but I guess to add parking spots for trucks, or, I mean, because to me, I think a few wisely chosen locations for no trucks traffic, you know, like for instance, what Mike's talking about is our houses are across from each other on the corner of 3rd and Chestnut. I got semis coming down Chestnut off Main all the time. They turn off Main, come down Chestnut, stop at our intersection and think, oh crap, I've got a huge hill that I can't traverse because my trailer will drag, and I can't turn left or right because I'm up in Mike's yard if they do that, and I've seen many trucks in his yard because they can't make that turn. I mean, what's our plan of action here? Are we just talking about making certain routes non-truck driving routes so these truck drivers they'll stop taking those routes? Or are we actually talking about building a parking lot somewhere for them close to the casino? Because $150 seems like a lot of money.
The possibility I can see is that they allow a wider access for it to get closer to the hotel, which means widening the area if it's possible. So that means changing the street configuration going in and exiting. I don't really know what that cost will be. I don't know if that's the best solution, but I think getting them closer to the hotel and away from 2nd Street is the best choice, because the alternative is to put a roundabout somewhere around there, and I just don't see how that would fit. We just don't, even with the land we're trying to get from Union Pacific, I don't see how you can get a truck to turn around there. Another alternative is they could pull in and then back in and have spots reserved for pulling in and backing out and then straightening out and parking. That is a possibility, but you would have to add some asphalt and some turnabouts in that area if we agree to let that be an area where they can park.
Well, I think you said it best about Second Street. There's no way they can park on Second Street without either entering or exiting one of our streets, either Vine or Chestnut.
Or add a...
And we don't want them to do that.
Or add a turnabout. I would rather restrict that area,
Right.
but the solution is to either tell them they can't come in at all, and they have to go and use those shuttles, or they have to widen those areas into the hotel area.
Morris?
I don't understand what this got to do with the TDD. But technically, that money down there we could use it for anything in reference to the streets coming to and from the boat. So setting aside money for a parking lot or anything, that's already in there. If we decide we want to do it.
Except that the way that law seems to work is you're supposed to itemize projects that you might undertake.
Right.
And that's why we went on this list, because there were like 6 things on there, and most of them been done, or else they don't need to be done. So all this does is allow them to participate in some construction solution, should that be decided upon sometime in the future, lest you have to go back and do a whole nother amendment again to add something like that in there. So it doesn't do all that much, it just keeps it on the list, because of this other stuff on here, some of that's probably never going to get done. So it just makes it eligible for them to participate in some fashion, should that become the agreed upon solution. But there is no solution agreed upon at this time.
But isn't that just very minor money? I mean, it's
Well-
not producing that money like we thought it was when we created that.
Yeah, it gets in, I don't know, $40,000-$50,000 a year, so that's why I say you're not gonna do all these projects on here very soon. But it just, should you decide that's a construction solution as part of it, and it's a high enough priority to fund, and the board also agrees with you, then this would allow you to do that. If it wasn't on there, you couldn't do it without going through a bunch of other hoops, even if you wanted to.
Okay.
Noah?
So the number is just strategic as far as if we wanted to go a bigger route, we've
Yeah, if you
closed
end
the
up
money.
spending $225,
But if we
then nobody's
decided to
gonna
go
argue.
the
with
sign
you.
route and spend $2,000 on signs,
Right.
we could do
Right.
that.
Yeah, and I guess where I come up with the money is if you say, let's try to push them over there to the aisle, they've got some outer parts of their parking lot there somewhere that you might be able to let them designate a heavy truck lane, but then they're not gonna want the heavy trucks driving around on their parking lot, so you might have to tear out a piece of the parking lot, pour it back with concrete, so it was a little like a fire lane or a little truck lane or something in there, so, you know, that, if you're doing something like that, money's gonna add up pretty quick, so.
Any other questions? We need a motion to amend the...
All right, so if I make a motion to amend, he has to agree since he made the first one. How does that work?
Well, I think we need to, you make a motion to amend, and then we need a second to the amendment. We'll vote on the amendment, and then we vote on the amended thing. So-
Okay, I make a motion that we approve this Boonville Riverfront Transport Development District as amended.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Morris. Any further discussion on that? This is on amending the list from what it was at the first presentation 2 weeks ago to add the specialized parking in or around the district for $150,000. Any questions? Roll call.
Eaton?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes?
Hurt?
Yes.
Beach?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a first and second, we now have an amended version of this. Any questions on the amended ordinance? Roll call.
Eaton?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Beach?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Item B, discuss annexation initiative and bed tax initiative the process, election date, and associated issues. Earl, would you like to kick that off?
Okay. I went ahead and formally put this on there. We probably touched upon this in one form or another, usually pretty briefly in passing over the last year or more, 4 or 5 times. There's 2 issues on there, the annexation part and the bed tax part. The only thing they have in common is both require an election. Keeping in mind, if you have a special election, the cost of that is between $10,000 and $15,000. The first item then is the bed tax. If you recall, we talked about considering raising that from 4 to 5% in the top 25 thing we did as part of the budget and so forth. There seemed to be general support for that. It's just a matter of picking out when you want to do it, assuming you still do. Again, that was my proposal. It is not coming from the tourism board or anything like that, so I don't want to imply anything else to anybody, but I think they support it, but that's where it comes from. The other part of it is the annexation. This has what's gotten to be a fairly long history now. I guess it goes way back to the failed annexation, involuntary annexation initiative, which is 5, 6 years old now. After that, you recall, some of you weren't on the council then, and I think I sent out a copy of it this time. The council entered into agreement with Mr. Rapp and some of the entities that he created to undertake a sort of a joint venture on annexation out 87 out toward I-70. This was a smaller area than what was originally proposed, but it was intended to be so. The major component of that for, I guess, the city at the time was to install a sewer, and that was also a joint venture undertaking between the 2 parties, and that went to construction and is now completed and available. Part of that agreement also assumed that we would make an effort to achieve this particular tract through a voluntary annexation effort, and assuming most of you understand voluntary is a lot easier than involuntary, and part of that, I guess, burden was, the responsibility was Mr. Rapp was supposed to participate in that and try to help that along with his efforts in conjunction with the city. All that happened, and Bill can speak to that when I get done here. But I think all that happened, and basically, I think we've not been successful with that avenue. So Megan participated. I think everybody strategized a bit off and on, but again, we're at the point that was not and has not been successful. So we're at the point now of moving to involuntary annexation, which requires a whole number of other steps. It's a lot harder, more drawn out, more involved. The first step is to pass a resolution. A resolution doesn't do much of anything except set in motion the process that you're going to try an involuntary annexation. It doesn't officially call an election. It just starts you down that path and gets you on record so that a number of other things can unfold. Those things are largely preparatory work done by staff, although all the community outreach is useful, of course, because ultimately you have to get the votes. You have to get a legal description. You have to be sure that the boundaries are contiguous, and there's a 15% ratio on various things, and then you have to. The major thing is to prepare a plan of intent, which we did last time was a virtual book. This time it probably won't be nearly as large, but it'll be over 20 pages that outline a number of things that set out in the statute to do that. You also establish a public hearing to get public input for you all to consider as this thing comes to fruition. You also have to negotiate with other districts who may be involved, other political subdivisions, to see how the ultimate service provision will be, the division of labor for that. So after the public hearing is held and after you see the plan of intent, all that stuff's done, then you pass an ordinance which then calls an election if based on the stuff presented to you, you think that's the proper thing to do. And then there's a timeline for that. You have to give 30 days notice for the hearing, but the hearing can't be more than 60 days, and a number of things. And of course, it's useful to have a number of neighborhood meetings and that sort of thing. And the ordinance, of course, ultimately has to be passed, it's either 8 or 9 weeks prior to the actual election date itself. So you can see the thing gets spread out pretty well. Again, the hearing itself is designed to give you input as to the advisability of moving forward. We've looked at a couple of schedules, and again, time passes pretty quickly for, basically you have the November or April election. The November would be a special election, the April would be along with the regular one. They would have an additional cost, but not a significant cost as it would be otherwise. So that's kind of where we are now. We need to decide if we want to pursue this and then sort of pick out a date, and then we would bring the resolution back at the next meeting or two to sort of officially kick off the process, if that's where we decide to go. And then Megan has a good number of weeks' work to do to prepare the plan of intent and negotiate with other entities and formalize a lot of other issues. So I think, Bill, since you had a role in that, I think I'll defer to you for a moment and then see if Megan has anything that I might have missed. And
well, I want to introduce Joe Schuster and then Ryan Rapp. Arthur Henry Properties is the entity that owns the golf course property and the ground along the interstate. And it was 2008 when we had the annexation issue. You know, we hoped that August would pass, and when it was narrowly defeated, then it went to the November, and again it was narrowly defeated. So we were disappointed that we didn't get annexed in. And the work that Megan and I know Dave Nicholas was the mayor at that time, it was so narrowly defeated. That's what hurt, I think, the most. So then we worked with Megan and Earl on the pre-annexation agreement with the city of Boonville, and you know, we thought a 10-year period, you know, the next 10 years surely we'll get annexed within the first 3. But we're now getting real close to 3 years into the pre-annexation agreement with the city of Boonville. We hoped that we would have a commercial development on that corner property where the old Alaska Hotel was. The economy of 2008, 9, 10 really didn't allow that. We do have encouraging signs from realtors. Herb Warmborough is in Kansas City, and then Darrell Tower with Skogman Commercial Realty is really working on the project. I think we got a big break in the project when Sharon Sickman sold her family farm, which sits just to the north of the golf course. I think it's going to allow a lot more development in the area. 311 acres now that's there. So as the realtors are working on different projects, you know, the subject has came up more than once is where are we at on annexation? And we had a nice group last fall. I believe it was Megan, you might help me with the annexation group. I know Jim Hackman at that time was helping us lead that group. Ryan, myself, Russell Emma, I know Mike Kelly, Mark Livingston, Barbara
Whalen.
Yes, Nancy Whalen, and Kate also helped with some information gathering, and we were going to, you know, try to bring it to the council. So there's been a lot of work in you know, in the years past. My brother Ed asked me about every time I talked to him is where are we at on annexation, and I said we're continuing to work on it. But we do know that we believe close to something happening, and we'd like to be on the November ballot. We could live with April. We'll do whatever the city wants. But I think for the project, there's lots of positives for it. You know, we're sure trying to do everything we can do to keep that nice corner. And it's, I think, essential long-term that we have an annexation agreement with the city of Boonville. I know this one just gets to our property, and then we have an agreement that we would voluntarily annex in once this annexation occurs. Speaking to the voluntary annexation, Megan and Earl helped me with the list of all the property owners, and I can walk from the current city limits to Mel Reynolds' property, to Frank and Marty Eastman's property, to Brian Cooper's property, to Mr. Crockett's property, to Mr. Stan Stidham's property, to American Tower, to Wiley McVicker, to Randy Potter, to Ray Wells, to Steve Haig, to the 3 Bs, to Mr. Rader. And that's how you get there. And if everybody would have agreed to annex Anonymous Jack Cooper between Stan Stidham and American Tower. If everybody would have agreed, I think it would have worked, but we had 80%, but it wasn't able to get 100% of the people. So I had some meetings with Jack Cooper, and they were public forums held at the Bobber restaurant, at that time. And he just wasn't real interested in being in the city limits, and he said, you kind of have a problem. So he wasn't real helpful. American Tower was one that Megan and I were surprised that wasn't interested in cooperating. But overall, I thought it was, good support. We had some meetings. I feel like we've got the community support. I think everybody understands what the golf course does for our community, for the kids in the community and for the community overall. We've had several college golf tournaments there. We had 13 or 14 teams in the spring with 100 and some golfers, and they came in for a Sunday practice round. They played golf Monday and Tuesday. So there's a lot of good things that it's happening. The Gann family is still responsible for having an 18-hole golf course in Boonville. I know that we've made lots of strides now in our 6th year of running the golf course. We feel like progress has been made on our end to get that golf course to where it's a break-even or making money proposition. The first 4 years we didn't, but last year in 2012 we had to pay taxes, on the golf course property. So it was nice to have. And we know that our marketing efforts are getting more Columbia golfers to come. There's 3 public courses in Columbia, and there's 120,000 people there. So we feel like the short drive, 14 minutes west of the Columbia Mall, you drive 78 miles an hour and you won't get caught, is what I think. But it's real close, and so that's, I think, golf course-wise, we've made a lot of progress. The Bill Rapp family with Jacob and Pam and Philip have all kind of figured out what parts of that golf course we like, and we see good things there. But for the development to happen, we just know we need to get started on getting the annexation timetable lined out, and there is a lot of work to do, but we'd like to have a good idea of when we're going to get there. But I'd be happy to answer any questions, or Joe and Ryan could speak to any questions you have as well.
Anyone have any questions for Bill or comments?
Not for Bill, but I've got a few questions.
Okay. If you want to have a seat, Bill, if we have other questions, we'll call you out. Thank you.
One's just a housekeeping thing. Is it Chapter 71? Is that okay? You said something about November and April. So did you mean that if it was in November, it's going to cost more money than if we wait till April?
Yes.
Do you know how much more? I mean, is it just minuscule? And when I say minuscule, I know 5,000 or 10,000, but is that really what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you had a standalone election, it wouldn't exceed 15 if it was by itself.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
And how many people are in the annexation? Do we know how many?
Good question.
And a follow-up question to that one is, how many do we know are confident to say that they're a yes, and how many is no? Okay.
The challenge on this annexation, Boonville has grown by the corridors. We've had this discussion a number of times. This is the next and final corridor opportunity we have. This is kind of a natural extension. More difficult to get out this corridor. Don't have the constant population kind of have here in the middle. So the people who get to vote along this annexation are those that reside in the area to be annexed. If you look at the people that basically reside along here, it's about 8 to 10 people. And that's a little probably difficult to amass some energy there. So we kind of looked at a number of different opportunities. That's why we really wanted to kind of get the annexation, the voluntary annexation piece down, because we weren't dealing with that many folks and property owners. But since that really didn't pan out, we looked at an opportunity to not only annex down the corridor, but also an opportunity to bring in a number of businesses to have some, large tracts and probably need the sewer service that we can provide, as well as clean up a kind of an interesting, problem that we have with our boundary along the southern part of, several subdivisions here in Boonville. As I was researching this whole corridor area, this is the section line, this lower line here where the yellow is, and that's kind of normally how you bring in properties by section line. That didn't happen back when these properties were brought in and subdivided in the city. So we've got about 15 properties whose front yard is in the city, but some portion of their backyard is not. And that may appear to be kind of a silly problem, but in actuality, it does come up with some issues. For example, we've been encountering some stormwater problems, and we're actually looking at properties that aren't technically within the city limits. So this is not a good problem to have. So it really provides you an opportunity not only to educate, to then also bring in about 15 to 20 additional people that are voting as part of your area to be annexed. And I think Bill has done some work getting a feel for what those folks might be interested in. I think he's come up with an opposition. So I think it's a nice opportunity to clean this line up, bring in some more voting opportunities, look at some commercial development that we probably need to concentrate on this corridor, as well as then get us down. We pushed it as far as we can. 15% is the magic number. On an involuntary annexation, you have to touch at least 15% of your city limits, and that's with the perimeter of that annexed area. We're at 15.9. That's as far as, and that's always been a problem down this corridor.
And how many
Always
voters?
been a problem. Because we just don't have the breadth. When we did annexations back here, plus the law was different back in the 80s and 90s, you used to be able to run down a corridor. You used to be able to run down a railroad track, a road. That's how we got McDonald's in before anything else was annexed. We ran down, grabbed the McDonald's area, okay, provided them service, got the sales tax, but then, of course, then look at our boundary lines along Route B, and that's what happened. So they changed the law, and you no longer can do tight or flag annexations. You have to have at least a quarter-mile strip. It has to be a border that makes sense. You try not to cut people's property in half, okay, those kind of things. So with the number of constraints that we have to work with, and that's why, for those of you who were in town and worked with us under the large annexation, that's kind of why we did what we did, because then we could capture more of the boundary to be able to work that annexation. So this one was definitely a struggle to meet that percentage piece. So I think that actually this plan does provide us those three benefits. It gets us down to the property. It does it in a way where we have the opportunity for a number of developable sites along the way. It solves some opportunities, solves some problems for some commercial areas, and cleans up the southern border with these neighborhoods along some sides.
And what's the percentage that has to happen of yes votes for it to pass?
When you go to an election, you have to have a simple majority of the citizens that currently reside in Boonville, and a simple majority of those that are in the area proposed to be annexed.
Say that again?
Simple majority in each group. They vote separately. The folks in citizens of Boonville vote, and you have to have a simple majority to say, yes, we want this area to be annexed. And the voters that reside in the area to be annexed vote, and you have to have a simple majority of that.
A simple majority of both.
So this is voluntary, right?
No,
No.
involuntary annexation.
and you're still 50% range.
So you could, in theory, the people that live along that one narrow strip vote on both sides.
No, they're gonna be voting one way or the other.
Oh.
Their property is in the area to be
Yeah, I see what you said, they
So
vote.
they would be in that group of 30 to 40 people
Okay.
that reside in the area to be in.
And you said only people who actually reside there. So even though we're annexing some businesses, those business property owners will not have a vote.
Mike?
Yeah, I've said on the discussions about this in the past, and I'll have to tell you, I gave this a lot of thought relative to individual property rights and involuntary versus voluntary. Of course, everyone would like to have voluntary, everyone agree, and this would all be over with. The advantages of this are, like Megan said, you know, we have three, in the military we call them lines of communication, we have three primary arteries into our city inside the county, and those three are those roads. It's where everything comes into our city or leaves the city in the county. And we have those three primary arteries probably are the main ways that the city will expand or evolve both economically and for residential purposes as well. So this has that advantage of finally recognizing that is an area that is going to evolve for our city. And obviously, there's an economic connection we talked about with the golf course and future developments in that area. Also, our airport's out that road. And if the airport is to become a future vital center for our city, it would be nice to have it in the city limits. It would probably be a future voluntary expansion we could foresee coming after this, because they're now connected to this new corridor if it's approved. So from a growth standpoint, this is the logical way to go for our city into the future. Now, the negative is there's a few landowners that would like to remain in the county. The downside is that they probably will get better services in the long run. Their property values will probably be improved in the long run because of the services that we can provide, the county can't provide as well because of our vicinity to them and our location to them, and the fact that the services are so readily available to them. Not just county sewer, not police, fire, so forth. We can provide certain things better here because we are co-located with them, and will overlap them to all of our other economic development in that area. So, yes, it's unfortunate. It has to go involuntary, and there might be a few people, but they're not necessarily going to suffer, in my view.
Thank you, Mike.
That was one of the most important, valuable lessons I learned when we did this. We thought we knew an awful lot. We took our saying up to the public. We thought we really had it going on. We found out that we could actually make a better plan once we listened to people who went out and talked to not only provided their businesses and how they thought that this would grow, and also when we went out and talked to the groups, fire district, the water supply district, the bankers, the realtors, we got a lot of good feedback, and in fact, we enhanced our plan to different times. I anticipate that if you all believe that this is enough of a preliminary plan, way to go, we've got the right timing, I look at the schedule, I really want to make sure we other criticisms we've got unlike what we've heard of issues here before the city council. When we do a first read, we have a public hearing at the same time we have the second reading. I propose that we have 3 readings, and if we do not do that, we have the public hearing at the second reading, and then actually have the vote after you all have the opportunity to digest those.
Megan, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I'm not sure. I could barely hear you. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
One of the other criticisms that we had was when we actually came down with the ordinance, presented the plan, and had the public hearing, that we actually had the public hearing and the second reading at the same time. And I've
presented a plan, oral preliminarily, that we provide plenty of time for that public input, as well as have 3 readings on the ordinance, so that you're not taking a vote on the night that you're having your public hearing.
Okay. Any questions of Megan or Earl?
Yeah, let me
No.
just clarify what you just said. So, that's just the ordinance authorizing the election? So you're
It's the
talking about-
ordinance that approves the plan of intent, which has all your services, all your commitments, how everything's going to work, your financial plan and the whole bit, and sets the date for the election and calls the election.
And how many days prior to the election do we have to tell the county that we want to have an election?
Well, those are set by state
There's a
ordinance.
calendar in your packet, no?
Mhm.
Oh, that's
It's-
better.
it's
It's in your packet.
Gotcha.
Right. For a November election, you have to have it at the end
August
of
I was wondering
August.
why you stuck that in there.
Yeah, it's August 27th, the bottom box on the right-hand column,
Okay.
And if
so
you
it's less
do,
than 60 days.
right, an election in April of 2014, I believe it's the end of December, or the end of January.
Mhm. January 22nd.
Right. So it buys us a couple more months to provide that.
Okay.
Ned?
Just a quick question to verify what you said, because for some reason or other, my information was that we were going to need a 2/3 majority in order for this to work.
That would only happen if you have a situation where you go to your first election and you have a majority vote in the city, but the people that resided in the area to be annexed denied it. Then you will then go to a second election that's automatically on the next municipal election. You don't have a choice of election. And at that point in time, you have the people that in the city and the people that reside in the area, and you combine their votes, and it then has to be a 2/3 majority.
So it's the second involuntary election, because we haven't had an involuntary election.
First one's voluntary.
They're both involuntary. This is
Okay.
an involuntary process. We've already tried the voluntary.
But we can go simple majority this
Yes,
time.
yes, first time.
You
That's
could go, we could have gone simple majority the last time, but to override the fact that one of the majorities did not have they did not have majority on one of the votes, you had to do a 2/3 to override it.
If you did this.
If that's an okay way to say to override it?
Right, but it
So this
has,
is the first time.
it's not just one of the votes.
Right, and both.
You have to have a majority in the city, okay, and it only can fail in the area to be
Right.
annexed. That's the only way you get to a second election.
Got it.
So, the council needs to decide this evening if they would like to have a resolution on the agenda at the next council meeting to vote on whether to proceed with this. And do we need a date, or does that come later? We need a date,
I think we need a date.
target date, either
We need a
April or
resolution.
Does staff have enough?
Ned?
We need a resolution, a positive resolution to do the ordinance.
Yes,
Correct.
to move forward in the
The
process.
ordinance does the process.
That's correct.
That's the 3 readings, right?
I would really like to get started if there's a
Okay.
feeling from the council, because we've got a lot of preliminary work to do, and I'd like to start bringing the Planning and Zoning Commission on board with looking at the zoning and the process. They're kind of one of the key folks that I like to bring on board. They provide a great opportunity to start talking about this plan to the citizens of Boonville. So if you all would instruct Earl and I to proceed with preliminary planning, I'd like to get this map in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission and begin to prepare a couple of our engineering maps to make sure we're feeling comfortable that we can meet all the requirements. Probably need to also update the ownership list. The last time we did this was fall of last year, and I'm sure there's probably a couple of properties that have turned over, so we'll have to redo that piece of it. So I'd like to kind of have that done, if we can then bring that then back for a resolution at the August 5th meeting.
So what is it that we need tonight?
A motion to,
I don't think we really need, we just need a favorable consensus that we would like to see a resolution on the next agenda, so that we vote on it at that time, whether to move forward formally. We don't need to vote on anything tonight, but they need to know, probably, they need to know from you, are you looking at November, or are you looking
I'm
at
not sure
April?
we need that for the
Oh, you
resolution.
don't think you need that now?
Well, I'm looking at the statute, and it doesn't say anything about the date. But as a practical
No,
That was
matter.
gonna be my
Any
question,
questions?
so this resolution, which, you know, we can say, yeah, we'll draw a resolution up, voted on next time.
Mhm.
At the time of the resolution, do we have to declare November or
No.
April?
I don't think so.
And
No.
do you as staff think we have enough time to accomplish this by the deadlines to put this on the November election?
November?
I have my doubts. I don't think so.
Okay. Am I hearing that you would like to see a resolution on the next agenda for further discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Staff can start
Do
to
you
work
wanna-
on that.
Did everyone say yes?
Yes, I saw a lot of nodding heads. Okay, is that what you need? And bed tax, do we need to do anything further about that, or just that would be a
No,
tag
the-
along on the,
Yeah, I'm assuming that there probably isn't any reason to do it prior to April unless this one happens to go ahead of time. So
okay,
we can pick that up as we go.
okay.
Mayor, I had one more question about the annexation.
Yes.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, let's say hypothetically it was to fail the first election and it has to go on the very next municipal. Does that mean if we had it, the first one in November and it failed, it would go on to the April? But if we did the April one first and failed, does that go November or does it go to the following April?
Go to August.
Or August? August would be the next, okay.
Mayor?
Okay.
Yes, Mike?
Just a clarification, I don't know if everybody that's new to this caught the differences. The last annexation, if you weren't here, was much more different than this one. This is very specialized towards this particular corridor. The last one included a larger area, so this is not the same thing being done a second time. This is a different annexation, or a more select part of it. Is that an okay way to say that? Okay.
It is okay. I think the critical thing everybody needs to recognize from you around the table to the general public is that the financial demands on the city for infrastructure development are about as minimal as you can get. Because 87's the state, the water's out there, the sewer's already out there, the internal roads and whatever housing Mr. Rapp builds are on him. So we don't have a lot of investment to go at this point. So.
Okay. Any final questions or comments? I just want to thank Bill Rapp and Joe and Ryan. Thank you all for being here this evening. Bill, thank you for what you've done. I know you've given it 110% to try to do this voluntarily, and if it could have been done, I think you would have done it. So, thank you for your efforts.
Too emotionally involved.
Okay.
We do appreciate the city and the county's help, and that we do, you know, it's just a slow and steady wins the race. And
Right, we want to do this right. We want to do it right.
I think we'll, 35 years from now, we'll look back on a very well-developed corridor that's beneficial to all citizens.
The
I wanna-
buses will all be here.
Yeah, I'd like to do it before then, actually. My eyesight might not be too good. Oh, there you go, okay, our grandkids can look back. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, new business, item A, first reading of bill number 2013-021, authorizing an agreement for professional project management and fundraising services for the Kemper campus with Dr. Marcia Drennan.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing an agreement for professional project management and fundraising services for the redevelopment of the Kemper campus by and between the City of Boonville, Missouri, and Dr. Marcia Drennan, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Okay. Item B, first reading of bill number 2013-022, establishing disclosure of potential conflicts of interest.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officials.
Okay. For those of you who are new to the council, this is simply a standard operating procedure, and there's nothing out of the ordinary about it. If you have any questions, Earl, do you have any? You can talk about it.
We renew it every 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Item C, consider resolution number R 2013-05, accepting a bid from Weathercraft Incorporated for the roofing project, Package A.
A resolution of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing and approving an agreement between Weathercraft, Inc. and the City of Boonville, Missouri pertaining to roofing project package 7A and providing an effective date therefor. Whereas the City of Boonville has solicited and received bids for this project and determined that Weathercraft, Inc. represents the best bid pursuant to the purchasing code set forth in Section 2-20 of the City of Boonville Code of Ordinance. Therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that a certain agreement between Weathercraft, Inc. and the City of Boonville, Missouri relating to the roofing project package 7A, a copy of which is marked Exhibit A, is attached hereto and made a part hereof, is hereby approved. Section 2, that the city administrator and the city clerk are hereby authorized to execute and attest to said agreement on behalf of the City of Boonville. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after its passage and approval past this first day of July 2013 by the City of Boonville, Missouri.
Morris,
Mayor, I make a motion this be approved.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Mike, thank you. Discussion? The bids were on the back of your resolution.
How
Did
many,
you want, Morris?
how many roofing projects are we talking about?
Package 7A is the, this building and Ginrich Warehouse. 7B, which we're not acting on, is D-Various at Kemper. No.
Question. D, you said?
D, the big one.
Can you explain the form, so I understand it? This was not the lowest base bid, and then there's this column other that has prices per square foot that confused me a little bit.
I think it was the lowest.
Was
base
lowest
bid.
in Section 7A.
Oh, and 7A.
They all
What
got the same bid.
103,660.
What about 7B?
We're not doing B.
We're not doing.
Oh, I see, okay. So on
There's a little
7A,
bit.
could you explain the other category, because
The other is if they run into basically decking that has to be replaced because it's rotted out underneath the shingles. Septicon doesn't think we're going to run into very much of that, so I don't think that will get up to, what, $7,000 difference there.
Okay, because obviously they were more expensive in that category than all the others.
Yeah.
Have we dealt with Weathercraft?
Well, of course, we haven't done any systematic roof work. We've done some patching work, but none of these companies do patching jobs, shall we say. They're a little more. So I've heard of them, but I don't recall having direct experience with them.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Keaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes?
Hurt,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Item D, consider resolution number R 2013-06, authorizing agreement with H.W. Lochner Incorporated for an airport engineering services. Kate?
A resolution of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing and approving an agreement with H.W. Lochner Incorporated to provide airport engineering services. Whereas the City of Boonville Airport Board has solicited and received statements of qualifications for airport engineering services, and whereas the City of Boonville Airport Board has reviewed the proposals and recommends that H.W. Lochner Incorporated represents the most qualified firm, and whereas the City of Boonville's past experience with H.W. Lochner Incorporated has been good, and whereas the City of Boonville has received approval to proceed with a project extending a parallel taxiway, therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that the City of Boonville hereby approves the agreement with H.W. Lochner Incorporated for consulting engineering services on the taxiway extension project. Section 2, that the city administrator and the city clerk are hereby authorized to execute said agreement on behalf of the City of Boonville. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after its passage and approval past this first day of July 2013 by the City Council of Boonville, Missouri.
Morris?
Mayor, I make a motion this be approved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion or questions? John from the airport is here, if you have questions. Noah?
Earl, is this part of a 90-10
It is,
deal?
yes it is.
Okay.
Actually, it's, in some cases, it's 95-5 if you look on the very back page, depending on which pot of money they're availing themselves to.
Okay.
So,
6.9, actually.
is that the average?
Yeah, that's the total.
Some of you may wonder about this H.W. Lochner Incorporated, and I heard this question asked, and John said that, what was the, Butcher, Willis, and Ratliff is who we used to work with all the time, and those were the names that you would see, and they were bought out by this company. So it's essentially the same group that we've always been working with. They have all the records.
Yeah, they constructed it.
They constructed it, okay.
They did the engineering.
Any other questions or comments?
I think the email from the Chris, our project rep, outlines it pretty well. In some sense, they were kind of solicitors, they're invited to move forward on it. It's extending one taxiway to the end of the runway so that you don't have to go against traffic and so forth on there when you're getting out to it, and so we will move forward with it. It won't happen overnight. As you can see, their funding pots are spread out a little bit. The one issue we have developing out there is when we did the hangar project out there, you know, Pierre Lane is a little bit of no man's land out there. It belongs to the city, but it isn't all that well built. And I suspect that a project of this magnitude is going to leave it in poor condition. I almost lost it last time. We double chip and sealed it or something, but it's kind of a private road of some sort, so I'm not sure what the solution is on that, but it's an issue that we don't want to forget about.
Okay, any other questions? Roll call.
Eaton?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Beach?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Reports of standing committees, item A, Boonville Housing Authority, Councilman Carter.
It was pretty well standard meeting. You got your minutes, and if you got any questions, we'll try to get answers for you.
Okay. Item B, Fire Board, Mike Kelly.
Fire board did not have a quorum, have to be rescheduled.
Okay. Reports of city officials, city administrator, Earl.
Have nothing to do.
Mayor, the only thing I would like to say is I'd like to thank everyone that had anything to do with Heritage Days. I think it was very well attended and very nice. And now we've got fireworks coming up on July 4th, and that was money that was allocated by the City Council. So that will be held the evening of July 4th down at Kemper Park, and hope that everyone turns out for that at dusk. So. City Councilor?
I have nothing further this evening.
City Clerk?
Nothing.
Miscellaneous? If there's no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
This would be a good time for you and Megan to tell me that I can meet with you on Wednesday morning for about 30 minutes on the special committee for the rental house.
I asked Mary.
What is
that?
Time sensitive?
No, I'm trying to get it